Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Brighton Town Board. It's October 25th, 2023, and I'm Bill Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor. In just a minute, we will start the open forum portion of the meeting. That's the opportunity for members of the public to share their comments with the Town Board. If you're watching us on YouTube or our cable access channel, you'll have to log into Zoom in order to participate in the open forum remotely tonight. And of course, there are instructions for doing so on the town's webpage at www.townofbrighton.org. I know most folks by now are pretty familiar with logging into Zoom, but it's an important part of how we make our meetings accessible to the community. Another important part of that is our ASL interpreters, making our meetings accessible to the deaf and the hard of hearing community. Tonight, Allie and Heather are our interpreters. Welcome to you both, and thank you. As a reminder, the agenda for tonight's meeting, if you're here in person, is on the back table, along with all of the supporting material that we use in making our decisions. If you're watching remotely, again, all of that same material is available on the town's webpage. Let me ask that we rise and start the meeting with the pledge. If you're able to rise, please do so, and I'll ask Councilmember DePonzio to lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have one proclamation tonight. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. This is an opportunity, and you know, on issues as important as this, you just can't repeat it often enough, how important the work of groups like the Breast Cancer Coalition of Rochester are, but also how important it is for everyone to take the necessary precautions because early diagnosis of breast cancer is so important. Let me read this proclamation. Whereas breast cancer is the second most common cancer among American women, with an estimated 300,000 women and 2,800 men diagnosed with breast cancer each year. Whereas the 2023 Breast Cancer Awareness Month theme, "No one should face breast cancer alone," serves as a reminder to doctors, agencies, and individuals to partner with patients and families in the prevention, detection, and treatment of breast cancer. Whereas the Breast Cancer Coalition of Rochester is an agency that is specifically designed to ensure that breast cancer patients and their families are not alone, offering more comprehensive support than a medical office visit by providing quality programming and support at no additional cost. And whereas founded in 1998, the Breast Cancer Coalition of Rochester has successfully cultivated community among those touched by breast or gynecological cancer and empowered informed decision-making through education, support, and advocacy, while also advancing research into eradicating breast cancer. And whereas we know that prevention and early detection through self-examination or a mammogram are key to winning the fight against breast cancer, and we're thankful for the 25 years that the Breast Cancer Coalition of Rochester has served this region and helped people through some of the hardest times in their lives. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and the members of the Brighton Town Council do hereby recognize October 2023 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month in the town of Brighton and celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Breast Cancer Coalition of Rochester. And this proclamation is signed today, the 25th day of October, 2023, by the members of the Brighton Town Board. We will be delivering this to the Breast Cancer Coalition. They couldn't be here tonight, but we do want to make sure they know that we too support the good work that they're doing. Okay, we'll now begin our open forum, which we hold at the start of every town board meeting. The open forum is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board concerning any matter relating to the town, whether or not it's an item on our agenda tonight. Although I would say that we do have 3 public hearings tonight, 2 of which relate to the budget, 1 of which relates to the removal of a tree. And if you're here to speak to any of those public hearings and you want your comments to be recorded in the record, I would encourage you to wait until we call that public hearing. If you're here in person and want to speak during the open forum, simply raise your hand and we'll recognize you. If you are with us on Zoom and you want to speak during the open forum, of course, you got to join the meeting on Zoom, but then once you do that, you'll be admitted from the Zoom waiting room. If you use the Zoom raised hand function, I'll call on you and you'll have the opportunity to speak. I ask all speakers during the open forum, whether in person or remote, to please state your name and address. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. I'll give you a 30-second heads up before your time expires. If you have questions for us, we may not be able to answer them tonight, particularly if they relate to a matter that's not on our agenda. But our goal here tonight and during the open forum that we hold at every town board meeting is to give you the opportunity to share your thoughts with the board and for us to listen to your words. Therefore, please direct your remarks to the town board and not to the room or other speakers. Please refrain from personal attacks or outbursts of any kind during the open forum out of respect for the speakers and for the time of everyone that's here tonight. I see one person here. Come on up, if you would. Again, please state your name and address and welcome.
Thanks. Stuart Laird. My address is 691 Whitten Road South. I understand the board may not respond to questions, but it was just a request for any update on the status and next steps of the community center. This has probably been addressed in other meetings. I just wasn't there, so.
No, that's fine. We anticipate having a final report and recommendations from our consultant very soon. And then we're going to have some, I think, tough decisions, but productive decisions. A community center is going to be a significant expenditure for the town. It will no doubt have to be financed through the issuance of debt. But I think we've gotten a lot of good community feedback and look forward to being able to look at some opportunities to meet those community needs.
Thanks.
Thank you. There's no one else here in the room for open forum, and I don't see anybody on Zoom.
We have no one further, Bill. I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Mike wasn't where I expected it. Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wild?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. We have 3 public hearings tonight, as I mentioned. The first 2 of those public hearings are our final 2 public hearings concerning the proposed 2024 town budget. We also have a public hearing concerning the proposed removal of a significant town tree on South Grosvenor Road pursuant to the town's tree law, which is Chapter 175 of the Town Code. Just like we did 2 weeks ago, we have 2 budget-related public hearings tonight. One of them, the first one, concerns the town's operating and capital improvements budget itself, and the other one concerns the special district budgets, charges, and assessment rules. Those 2 public hearings really are both budget-related. They're closely interconnected. They constitute separate public hearings only because state law requires them to be separate public hearings. So no one should feel as though they have to make a decision and they might be wrong about which hearing they should be speaking at. If you would like to address the board concerning the 2024 budget, any matter relating to special districts or assessments, don't worry if you might be at the right one or at the wrong one. Whichever public hearing of those first 2 you comment on, they will be included in the record and they will be considered in the actions we will take. I would also note that although your agenda indicates that there is a resolution on the second public hearing, the special district budgets, charges, and assessment rules, in conversation today with our finance director, there are some minor technical changes that we have not received back from Monroe County Real Property Tax Service yet relating to small claims assessment proceedings that property owners have the right to engage in. So while we're going to hold that public hearing tonight and close it, we won't be taking action on that item. I do anticipate, though, that we'll be acting on the first one, the operating and capital improvement budget itself. I just want to say a few more words about the process because I think it is important to note that the actions we're going to be considering tonight, the approval of a town budget for next year, is really the culmination of a months-long open and transparent process. That process starts with our department heads submitting both capital improvement requests as well as budget requests. It involves the development and approval of the capital improvement plan, which is a 3-year plan covering the years 2024 through 2026. That's something that the state comptroller recommends but doesn't require. That process is conducted at open meetings of the Finance Committee and open meetings of the town board. Having completed that capital improvement plan and approved it back in August, or September, then we proceed with the review of the budget itself. Again, we start that with town board public workshops, 2 meetings at which our department heads submit overviews, present overviews of their budgets to the community. The Finance Committee discusses them, the town board discusses the budget, and we hold these 2 public hearings. Now, state law only requires 1 public hearing, but we have long felt that it's important to do it twice to give people as much of an opportunity as they can to come out and speak. The proposed budget we're going to be considering tonight contains a property tax levy increase of 3.87%. Now, of course, I'm never happy to have to propose any tax levy increase, but we've all seen in the last couple of years cost increases in our own households due to inflation. Many of those factors also affect town government, cost of energy, for example. That 3.87 levy increase is fairly comparable to recent inflationary data. Of course, last year it was running 7% plus. But I want to highlight two significant mandated increases, both of them relating to the cost of employee benefits, and they will play a significant role in the tax levy increase we're proposing this year. First, our premiums for employee and retiree medical insurance will be rising nearly 12% in 2024, 11.95% to be exact. We have been a part of a consortium of local governments, primarily in Monroe and Ontario County, the Finger Lakes Municipal Health Insurance Trust, for a number of years. And as we do with a lot of the things we do, that collaboration, that opportunity, as Chris, you like to say, buying in bulk, is generally a way that we can keep our costs under control. This year, the premium hike we're facing is a big one, and it's caused in no small part, as so many things have been in recent years, by the pandemic, specifically the fact that people in some cases during the pandemic delayed normal diagnostic screenings, delayed going to their physician. Some of it's catch up now, and unfortunately some of it are serious conditions that weren't caught at an early time. Not necessarily, because we are part of a consortium, there are a number of different governmental entities involved. I'm not speaking specifically about any Town of Brighton employees, but that is an issue that this consortium is facing. And both of those factors cause this significant increase. The second significant increase mandated by the state of New York, and unfortunately even worse than that 12%, are our mandated contributions to the state retirement system. Those contributions will increase in 2024 by about 15% for our law enforcement officers, and even more than that, 19% or so for our other employees. Those increases are far above the current rate of inflation. They are mandated by the state, and we couldn't offset them with other budget cuts unless we dramatically reduced services. Now, as I noted in the budget message that I gave a couple meetings ago, we have two goals in developing our budget. One is to maintain the strong fiscal management that the town of Brighton has long been known for. And two, the continuation and, when possible, enhancement of high-quality municipal services for our residents. I'm confident that this proposed budget will do exactly that, and I am going to recommend that the town board take action to approve the budget with really just, I think, one very minor change, which simply relates to one line in our salary schedule that we've determined should be adjusted, increased slightly more than we had originally anticipated. I'll ask our finance director, Earl, are there any other amendments that you would propose that the town board include tonight?
No, there are no other changes.
Thank you. Then I'll ask the town clerk, has the necessary legal notice been given for the public hearing on the town's 2024 operating and capital improvement budget?
Yes, Supervisor, the notice was published in the September 25th edition of the Daily Record.
Thank you. Notice having been given, then I declare the public hearing on the town's 2024 operating and capital improvements budget to be open. Is there anyone here that would like to comment during the public hearing? Yes, sir. Come on up. Again, if you would state your name and address for the record.
Hi again, Stuart Laird, 691 Whitten Road South. I noted a number of line items in the detailed budget for F-350 trucks. It's a big truck. It's probably the right tool for a lot of jobs. It might be the only tool or the only appropriate tool for certain jobs, but I just wanted to confirm that that alternatives, hybrid or electric, were assessed and ruled out, or that there's some longer-term plan to eventually transition the town fleet in accordance with the draft
Well,
climate
first, I'm
action
going to
plan.
thank you for looking line by line at the budget. I'll thank you also for, following up and making sure we are looking at alternatives, particularly as they relate to hybrid or sustainable vehicles. I'll get to, when we get to the specific vehicles, I'm going to turn it over to Everett Garcia, but I will tell you that yes, we are increasing both our use of hybrid as well as EVs. Chief, how many years now have we been buying nothing but hybrid police cruisers? Will this upcoming year be like the 5th year, maybe?
I'm thinking it's been about 5 years, Mr.
Yep.
Supervisor. I mean, they're difficult to find at times, especially coming out of the pandemic, but most of our SUVs now that we're buying are all hybrid.
And I know when they start making EVs that are suitable for police use, we'll look at those very closely. We have bought a couple of EVs. I know we bought one for the recreation department. One of our code.
So it's our facilities e-van. It's a 4D transit van that's completely EV, along with a Chevy Bolt for the Department of Public Works. So we have 2 fully electric vehicles at the moment.
And we have received grants for the installation of additional charging stations, which we're going to be putting in various locations in the town, and actually using the one that's currently out in front of the library, replacing that with a charge point or a similar system. These new ones will be charge point or similar EV collection systems, and making that our dedicated town vehicle EV station. But let me turn, and I'll ask, that was Everett Garcia who made those previous comments, our Highway Superintendent and Commissioner of Public Works. Everett, can you comment on the specific pickup trucks that we're purchasing or proposing to purchase in the coming year?
Yeah, so thank you for looking at those vehicles. And we have made it a point, under the recommendation of the Sustainability Oversight Committee, and really at a staff level, to downsize and right-size our entire fleet. And so when we are ordering these vehicles, we certainly do take a look at what's the smallest vehicle we can order that can still perform this job. And so those 350s, I believe a couple of them were actually downsized from 450s that were originally slated for. And that is a vehicle that, our highway department determined is needed to perform that work. We are looking at all possibilities when we set out to order these. A couple of the challenges that we've come across is the lack of hybrid for these larger vehicles. And then even, looking into like LNG type products and vehicles, we don't have the infrastructure in place other than Monroe County, so we'd have to drive up to Van Leer and back, that type of thing. But we certainly are looking pretty hard into it and appreciate, folks like you looking into it as well.
Thanks.
Thank you. And actually, we'll be talking a little bit more about our sustainability work tonight. We'll be setting a public hearing to review the town's updated climate action plan. And one of the things that I particularly noted in that plan are the significant reductions in greenhouse gas emissions from town operations during the past several years, as well as significant reductions in emissions from community-wide uses. So with the climate action plan, with some of the things Everett's talking about, and the work of the Sustainability Oversight Committee, those are all questions that are on the table whenever we review and approve our capital improvement plan and specifically vehicle acquisition.
Also, in addition to that matter, Supervisor, on the agenda this evening is the matter to approve a contract with ACES Energy Systems to install solar panels on the Carmen Clark Lodge, which would allow that lodge, which is part of Brighton Town Park, to have all renewable energy. I believe last month the town board approved the installation of a heat pump for that facility for heat and air conditioning. The solar panels, if approved, would provide sufficient electricity, at least it is hoped, to power the electric usage or the supply of supply demanded by that facility. All part of initiatives from the Sustainability Oversight Committee, and I think those matters are going to be paid for out of the 2024 budget. Is that correct?
And some grants.
Yeah, and some,
And some grants.
in conjunction with the grants, yeah.
Yep. And that'll be our first approximately net zero building?
Approximately, it's more like 90 to 100 in that ballpark, but very close.
Which is very exciting. Okay. Any other comments from people in the room concerning the public hearing on the 2024 operating and capital improvement budget? I don't see any hands raised on our Zoom from anybody that wishes to participate in the 2024 operating and capital improvement budget. If anybody would like that's on Zoom to do so, please use that raised hand function now. Then seeing none, I do declare the public hearing on the town's 2024 operating and capital improvements budget to be closed, and I'll ask Jason for a resolution.
Yes, with respect to the matter of adopting the preliminary budget.
Wait a second, I see, it looks like, no, I guess not. Okay, never mind.
With respect to adopting the preliminary budget for the year 2024 as so amended, I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second?
Discussion. I would just note that the one change, and of course, again, that resolution includes the fact that the one amendment relates to a modification to Group 11 of the town's non-represented salary schedule, which is part of the budget, and that relates to the position of town engineer, which we are currently seeking applicants for. So that's that one change. Any comments from board members?
I will just remind the board and the public that the Sustainability Oversight Committee did submit a letter with regard to our capital improvement budget, and we received and filed that at the last town board meeting. It had a number of kudos to the town with regard to our sustainability efforts over the past year, and of course made a number of recommendations, including the purchase of more EV electric vehicles in the category of light trucks. So,
yes, thank you for that, Robin, and kudos to them. Kudos to you for being our liaison to the Sustainability Oversight Committee. I will never forget the fall before I became supervisor, seeing that presentation for the first time. And I think that was the first year that the SOC did a presentation on the budget. And I found it so insightful, the expertise that those committee members have I learned a lot from reading their recommendations, and I appreciate the fact that they do it every year. Any further discussion on the motion to approve the budget? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll on that motion.
Councilmember DePoncio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Thank you. The second public hearing tonight is the public hearing on the 2024 special district budgets, charges, and assessment rolls. I mentioned the fact that we're not planning on taking action on this because we continue to wait some information from Monroe County Office of Real Property Services. I can't remember exactly what they're called, but they will be preparing final assessment information based on the results of small claims. And I will be asking the board to close the public hearing, but to take action at our next meeting. Are there any other amendments to the special district budgets, charges, and assessment rolls, Earl, that you would like to incorporate at this time?
No, there are no changes to the budgets or charges, and we would only anticipate very minor changes to the assessment, but we just want to be on the same page with Monroe County and be using the same information, which could change through October 31st.
Good. Okay. Again, as I mentioned before, well, let me first ask, Dan, has the necessary legal notice been provided for this public hearing?
Yes, Supervisor, this was also in the September 25th edition of the Daily Record.
And was the legal notice also included in the mailing that went out to the community pursuant to the provisions of a Court of Appeals?
Yep, this
decision?
was also in the fall 23 town newsletter.
Thank you. Notice having been given, I declare the public hearing on the town's 2024 on the 2024 special district budgets, charges, and assessment rolls. Is there anybody here in the room that would like to comment on this public hearing? Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to comment on this public hearing? And again, if so, please use the raised hand function. I don't see anybody doing so, and I still see no one here in the room. Therefore, I'm going to declare this public...
Supervisor?
Yes.
Is it your intention to leave this public hearing open pending the receipt of the information from the county and then take action
We
at the next
certainly
town
can.
board meeting?
Sure, we certainly can. Yeah. There won't be any need to republish, correct?
Correct.
Good. Then let's do that. Thank you. But we will not be taking any action on that matter tonight. And then we'll move to the last matter, which is the public hearing on the removal and replacement of a 34-inch silver maple at 804 South Grosvenor Road. I'll just mention that because this is a tree more than 30 inches in diameter, under the town's tree law, it's considered a significant town tree. It's located in the highway right-of-way, and a public hearing must be held before it can be removed. And I'll ask the town clerk, has the necessary legal notice been given in this matter?
Yes, Supervisor, this notice was in the October 6th edition of the Daily Record.
Thank you. And mailings went out to the adjoining property owners?
Yes, Supervisor.
Thank you, Everett. A legal notice having been given, and I declare this public hearing to be open. Everett or Ken, we have the report here, but anything in addition you would like to say in addition to the report, which will be included as part of the record of this public hearing?
It's a larger silver maple who is exhibiting decay and heart rot, and it's a tree that it's concerning. We received communication from the owner of 804 South Grosvenor in support of the removal of the tree, those are the reasons why we want to remove it.
Thank you. And that communication is with us here tonight, and I also direct that that be included in the record of this public hearing. Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to comment on that public hearing? Is there anyone participating remotely on Zoom that would like to comment on this public hearing concerning, concerning the removal of the 34-inch silver maple adjacent to 804 South Grosvenor Road? I don't see any hands raised. So hearing no comments other than what we already have in the record, I declare this public hearing to be closed. And I'll ask Councilmember Corrado, please, to act on the motion.
Yes, in the matter of the removal and replacement of a 34-inch silver maple at 804 South Grosvenor Road, I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. We have one item of communication tonight. That is a communication from Mr. Ted Aresti, who is the treasurer of the Brighton Fire District. It includes a report on the Brighton Fire District's 2024 budget. Chris, can I have a motion to receive and file?
Bill, I move that we receive and file the communication from the treasurer of the Brighton Fire District as before us.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Thank you for taking the transcripts on the public hearing tonight. We appreciate it. Have a good evening. Okay, moving on to committee reports, starting with Community Services. Robin.
Thank you. The Community Services Committee met last Wednesday, October 18th. Among the items that we discussed were communications. We had one communication from George Smith, who's on our Conservation Board, with regard to wood chips at Buckland Park. George Smith and the Conservation Board are appreciative of efforts to preserve and protect significant park trees by installing wood chips that create a buffer from potential damage from lawn maintenance equipment. We also had a separate related discussion with the potential for the Tree Council to secure mini tree nursery space at Buckland Park. We discussed the constraints of volunteer management, priority use of resources, long-term viability, etc. In items of continuing business, park issues, we accepted a written report from our park superintendent. And those items included on that report were that the Parks Department still has a full slate of park maintenance tasks underway as the growing season ends. Seasonal facilities and athletic fields will be closed for the winter on November 1st. Tennis nets will be left up until the last possible moment. The grass has finally started to slow down in terms of growth, with a mere 2 weeks left in the contracted mowing schedule. Park crews have finished the Corbett's Glen South Trail rebuild project ahead of schedule. The park superintendent utilized a creative means to avoid hauling in materials from a distance by taking advantage of existing easements to clear an area at the south end of the glen that was large enough to make our own material storage area. Ultimately, the trail was widened by about 2 feet. A drainage pipe was added in problematic areas where water tended to submerge the trail, and about 50 truckloads of crusher stone was applied for a base, while another 45 loads of stone dust was installed for the top coat. Overall, about 595 feet of trail was rebuilt in that effort. So big kudos on that project. It looks wonderful.
And I've now had a chance to go out there too, although I haven't seen it on particularly rainy days. But yes, that's a section that did.
Yeah. In addition to that, yes. In addition to that, Game Time Equipment was working on a matching funds grant for the playground that the town selected for Brighton Town Park. Per the town board meeting agenda tonight, we are tentatively moving forward with the purchase of a new playground for Brighton Town Park. We received a manufacturer grant on qualifying equipment in the amount of $45,030.37. This brings the cost of the equipment down to $52,570, excuse me. We will look to install in the spring of 2024 as part of a supervised install under the manufacturer's direction, which will save the town about $58,000. We also had a discussion of handicapped accessible seating at various trails, particularly the Brickyard Trail, but also other parks and trail locations throughout the community. The natural stone seating options are not accessible for people with mobility challenges. A potential donor has been identified that may be willing to provide appropriate seating alternatives. An update to our recreation programs. Our trunk or treat planning at that time was proceeding apace, but now the event has taken place. And would you like to extend some comments?
Oh, it was great fun. But, you know, really the kudos go to our recreation team, Becky, Michelle, Emily. They all, you know, DJ, they just all come out, they get in the costumes. We had a solar eclipse theme going on. We had the big solar eclipse glasses there. Even though the sun was nowhere to be seen, at least neither was the rain. So thank you, Recreation Department, and thank you to the hundreds of families that came out. The line was really extraordinary.
Yeah.
Again. And I'll just mention, too, there's sort of a second part, a related part, and that is we will be doing a second event for people with sensory issues. A lower key event. We'll be doing it indoors here in Town Hall.
That was, in fact, the next item on my report.
Then I'll let you take it.
So there will be a sensory-friendly trick-or-treat option that has been added to our community events for Tuesday, October 31st, to provide trick-or-treating indoors at Brighton Town Hall for our youth and families who would benefit from a smaller-scale, lower-key event. And I'll have additional details when I run through our events that are upcoming.
And I do hear that Farmer Bill is planning to come to that event as well.
As well, wow, 2 appearances.
Got time off
in
from the
1
back
week.
40.
Good for Farmer Bill. So we also had a discussion of Brookside Security, as we are the primary tenant in the facility. And finally, we discussed town planning that is underway for our total solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024. An update to our winter farmers market. Roof installation resumed on the market building. Interior finish work continues. Exterior doors are slated to be installed on October 26th. Gate parts are on order to restrict automobile traffic to specified parking areas. The milking barn will be secured and the interior painted before opening the site to the public. Done. Excellent. And we also had a discussion about the need for installation of a bike rack to coincide with the public opening. An update to our Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Board. The IDEA Board held its last outdoor season Brighton Farmers Market event on September 24th in conjunction with Councilmember on Your Corner, where the Tuesday Town Talk series that were scheduled for October 3rd, 10th, and 17th was promoted. With regard to the Tuesday Talk series, 2 of the 3 events went off extremely well. Unfortunately, the third was postponed indefinitely due to safety concerns. We did discuss the need to ensure consistent idea board attendance at hosted market and community events in the future. And then we had wonderful news that's also on tonight's town board agenda. Through the generous grant funding from ESL, the Idea Board is partnering with the Brighton Central School District to provide select school supplies for students for whom they might not otherwise be affordable. We also had 3 new Idea Board members start their tenures beginning this month. We welcome again Amanda Andera, Victoria Love, and Prashant Prabhat. I can tell you from personal experience working with the 3 new members that they've all hit the ground running and are engaged in various subcommittees of the Idea Board. An update to our clean energy community priority actions and sustainability funds. Upgrades enabled by NYSERDA grant funding at Carmen Clark Lodge will move us toward creating a 90 to 95% self-sustained building in the town. First one. Progress in that regard also creates additional funding opportunities that the town could apply for once we meet that 4,000 point threshold through the NYSERDA Clean Energy Community Program. There was also discussion of recertifying at the Climate Smart Community bronze level and what we need to do to achieve the silver level. Finally, we had a discussion of the acceptance of the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant funding that is imminent by year's end and how those funds will be applied in the upcoming budget year. We had an update to the Council Member on Your Corner program, which held its last event of the season on September 24th with the Idea Board. We have had a good showing for the year, and it remains a great partnership that we do hope to continue into the new year. Under items of new business, we discussed solar eclipse grant funding options. We had a discussion of a grant opportunity available from the American Astronomical Society as part of the Solar Eclipse Across America effort. There is a possible collaboration or collaborative opportunities with BHS and potentially the Boys and Girls Club of Rochester. Those are currently being pursued. A subcommittee of the Idea Board is taking lead on developing the proposal, and grant submissions are due on November 10th with a December 15th notification date.
I have to mention, because I read the grant program, that is the J. Myron Pasakoff grant. Professor J. Myron Pasakoff was a professor of astronomy at Williams College when I was there. He's a brilliant man and one of the most popular professors at the school, and he travels the world, or at least he certainly did back then, to see eclipses, and was a real hands-on person. So it's not surprising to me that this grant opportunity bears his name.
That's a really cool connection. The final item of new business was the elected official to protect America Climate Emergency and Energy Security Summit, which will be taking place on November 16th in Washington, D.C. I will be attending this summit to explore additional IRA funding opportunities available to us on the municipal level. In particular, since we'll soon be presenting the town's climate action plan update for public hearing, I will be exploring climate pollution reduction grants, which help to implement GHG reduction elements of community climate action plans. These grant opportunities are currently open for proposals, and the grant application deadline is April 1st, 2024. And I'll just run down our upcoming events. Oh, well, we also had our semi-annual electronics recycling and secure document shredding event, and I know, Bill, you were there for that as well. Would you like to talk about that?
Sure. Again, it went well. People were appreciative. I don't think we have an exact count yet, and Robin, I don't know if you've gotten their report with the tonnage or anything, but
I've gotten a less detailed report. We will get a more detailed C7, but we did have 15 pallets worth.
Good.
8 of one type and 7 of another. So it was a busy event, it seems like. And this was the first time working with our new electronics recycling vendor. And it seems they were up to the task.
Yeah.
And Robin, I was there, and I want to say, I want to extend our thanks to Victoria Love, who was now on your idea board.
Yes.
As you mentioned. And although I know you had another event you had to attend, you organized it, of course, and the Wilts were well represented by young Sam, who also did an excellent job, as well as Matt and Sonia out of the DPW department.
Yes.
The Public Works Department. And it was a great event, and just a little bit of rain, but not enough to cause any discomfort, I think, but it was very well done.
Yeah, thanks to all for the support. It's a very well-attended event, and it's nice that we can offer this to the community, and especially with new vendors. I appreciate y'all showing
New
up.
people participating. I mean, every year I see my next door neighbor came through this year. I don't believe I've ever seen her come through before. I know there were others that told me it was the first time. So it's great to see.
Excellent. This Sunday, this Saturday, October 28th, we will have our DEA semi-annual pharmaceutical take-back event that will be at the Brighton Town Hall Public Safety Wing, 2300 Elmwood Avenue, on Saturday, October 28th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And as I mentioned before, we will have a sensory-friendly trick-or-treating event at Brighton Town Hall in the main floor offices here at 2300 Elmwood Avenue on Tuesday, October 31st from 4 to 5 p.m. The event is free, but pre-registration is required as space is limited. You can register online for that event at www.townofbrighton.org/rec. The next meeting of the Community Services Committee will be on Wednesday, November 15th at 9:30 a.m. or immediately following the Finance and Administrative Services Committee meeting at the Brookside Recreation Center. We do ask that you access the Recreation Center through the Winton Road entrance. That's all I have.
Thanks, Robin. Finance and Administrative Services, Jason.
Yes, the Finance and Administrative Services Committee met last Wednesday, October 18th. Each of the items that were discussed in committee appear on tonight's agenda and will be presented and voted on. Our next meeting will take place next Wednesday, November 1st. We meet at 8:30 in the morning here at Town Hall, and the public is invited to attend.
Thanks, Jason. Public Safety, Chris.
Public Safety Committee met earlier in October, and I reported on that at our last town board meeting. The next Public Safety Committee meeting will be November 14th at 8 o'clock here in the auditorium. I also wanted to comment on the Brighton Fire Department open house on October 15th. It was very well attended. I know Robin and your dog and the special fire dog were there as well. But it was I. You came later. But a very impressive operation there. And it's amazing the equipment that these firefighters have to master. There's so much technical information. They did a terrific extraction exercise and cut apart a Kia. Took the top right off of it and pried open the doors, and they offered to turn my pickup truck into a convertible, but and they could have done it too. But it's a great group. You can see the morale there is very high, and they're well staffed, and they have a large cadre of volunteers there as well. So it's a great volunteer organization with, of course, any number of career firefighters as well. But it's a great event on the 15th. But next meeting, again, for public safety is November 14th here in the town auditorium at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Thank you, Chris. Christine, Public Works Committee.
Public Works Committee has not met since the last town board meeting. It will meet following public safety on November 14th at either 9:30 in the morning or when public safety wraps up if it runs late, which it never does.
Sometimes, but we try not to.
Okay, we have no old business, new business. Reading and approval of claims. Jason.
Yes, earlier this evening, I reviewed claims totaling $962,759.22. Notable claims include to the Depository Trust Company, the amount of $60,693.75. Of that, $45,000 was principal, and that was for payment of the 2018 serial bond for the Parkland purchase. Also to CGL Arbor Services in the amount of $26,462.70, representing payment for emerald ash tree borer treatment covering 257 town ash trees. Also to Game Time in the amount of $52,570.37, representing payment for new playground equipment for the town park. Also to Iroquois Rock Products / Dolomite Group, in the amount of $95,531.37, representing payment for asphalt for paving Meadow Drive, Elwell Drive, Monroe Parkway, and Wendover Road. And finally, to Landry Mechanical Contractors, in the amount of $43,985, representing payment for HVAC for Phase 3 of the Winter Farmers Market. The claims all appear to be in order, and I move that they be approved.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePoncio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. Robin, the next matter.
Certainly. The next matter seeks to accept a donation from ESL in the amount of $4,000 to support programs of the IDEA Board and amend the Recreation Department's budget to reflect said donation. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
This is the donation that Robin mentioned in her Community Services Committee report. And I think it's important to note, I mean, Jason mentioned it in his Finance Committee. These items that are on our agenda every 2 weeks are matters that have been discussed in committee, where we often have the opportunity to drill down into some of the particulars of those items. And this is a great program, and I'm very pleased that the ESL has chosen to support it. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePoncio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. Jason, the next one, please.
Yes, the next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Sylvia Staples to provide services to the assessor's office in an amount not to exceed $20,625 for a term of November 1, 2023 through May 1, 2025. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
Thank you. Jason, any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePoncio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. Next matter, Christine.
Yes, the next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with the Monroe County Department of Transportation for the provision of snow removal and ice control for a term of 1 year from Nunc Pro Tunc October 1st, 2023 to September 30th, 2024, with the option of 4 additional 1-year terms. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Ken, and I know you want to.
Get your second.
We'll get my second. Can I have a second on that, please?
I'll second.
I think
So, board members,
I'll recognize Councilmember Warner on that
thank you.
second.
Board members, I do want to point out that actually the caption on this matter is in the agenda not quite correct. The contract for county snow and ice removal expired on September 30th, 2023. Like our last contract that expired on September 30th, 2023, this new contract, which is to begin Nunc-Pro-Tunc on October 1st, 2023, is for a term of 5 years. So this takes us through September 30th of 2028, just like our last contract. What happens during the contract term is each year there's an opportunity for an annual adjustment. And when there is an annual adjustment made, the town gets to review that annual adjustment. If it disagrees, it may have a sit-down meeting with the county DOT, discuss it, and hopefully come to some agreement. But if the town is unable to come to an agreement with county DOT, then the county DOT numbers are imposed on the town, and the town, if it's dissatisfied, may cancel the contract, but not effective for another season after.
And when you say they're imposed for that 1 year.
Correct. They're imposed for that 1 year, so the following season, following that year, the town would be set at the county set or imposed number, and at the end of that next season, the town's cancellation would be effective. So if you think about it, it's a 5-year contract. It can't be canceled, after year 1 because it wouldn't be effective until after year 2. And then if you get to year 4, it can't really be canceled at all because you wouldn't be able to cancel until the end of year 5. So I just want to put that out there. So this contract that you're authorizing the supervisor to sign is a 5-year contract through September 30th, 2028.
But having said that,
it's just like
many years we've operated under that arrangement, and we've always been able to agree with the county on
that is all true,
which they make.
That is all true. Yeah, this is no different than the last 5-year contract.
And I think it's also important to note that they made some changes this year, one of which is particularly relevant to us, and that is how they're treating bike lanes. And let's look outside, Elmwood Avenue. That used to be a 4-lane road, and we got paid, by lane miles for 4 lanes. Do we lose money because there's now a bike lane? And the answer is no. They have specifically agreed to adjust the lane mile calculation if it is reduced only because of a bike lane that goes in.
And that just made me remember one other thing I wanted to explain, which is this isn't just the county's contract with the town of Brighton. I mean, this is just the county's contract with the town of Brighton, but it's the same contract with every town in Monroe County. We're not being treated any different than any other town in Monroe County.
And it's a great example of municipal cooperation. Honestly, it allows the services to get done more efficiently. Our trucks are out. When we're plowing side streets, we go down big streets, and so it just makes sense. Our crews are out. We have the trucks, we have the personnel, and it generates a lot of revenue for us. So I think it's a good deal all around.
So with all of that said, do I need to modify my motion?
No, because your motion was to adopt the resolution, and the resolution says through September 30th, 2028.
All righty then.
And to that end, we do have a resolution. It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion on the DOT snow and ice contract? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Robin, the next item.
Certainly. The next matter seeks to accept a Clean Energy Community Grant from the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, or NYSERDA, in the amount of $5,000 for partial payment of adding solar panels on the Carmen Clark Lodge, to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with ACES Energy for the solar panel project in an amount not to exceed $34,153, and to authorize the finance director to make any necessary budget amendments related to said project. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
Again, we discussed this earlier. This is part of this great project that will nearly make Carmen Clark Lodge a net zero building. Any discussion on this matter? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Miller?
Aye. Christine.
The next matter seeks to promote Nicholas Crandall to the position of skilled laborer in the sewer department. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
Everett?
Yeah, Mr. Crandall is very deserving of this promotion. It's a position that was vacated by a previous employee with the town, and his time at the town, and specifically in the sewer department, has demonstrated that he's very capable and able, has obtained a CDL license, and deserving of this promotion.
CDL license is obviously a big deal.
Yes, huge.
Good. Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Miller?
Aye. Chris?
Next item, Bill, is to approve the promotion of Nicholas Crandall.
Oh, next one.
Oops, excuse me. I already did that one. Next item is to declare as surplus certain sewer and highway department equipment to be disposed of via live or online auction. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
And again, Everett, any comments on this matter?
No, just older equipment that has treated us very well, it reached its useful life, and we're just looking to recoup some of that cost.
Good. Discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Miller?
Aye. Robin?
Certainly. The next matter seeks to approve the hire of Nicole Megalo as a part-time permanent office clerk 3 in the Recreation Department. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Miller?
Aye. Christine?
Yes, the next matter seeks to set a public hearing for the removal and replacement of a 30-inch sugar maple at 129 Clovercrest Drive. Public hearing to be held on,
November 21st.
thank you, on November 21st. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
And I would note that November 21st meeting is on a Tuesday night. It's the fourth Tuesday. Actually, no, it's the day before what would be the fourth Wednesday, and we moved it up because of the Thanksgiving holiday. So, but we have a motion and a second to set that public hearing. Any discussion? Anything?
Yep, just quick background. It's a large, significant tree, very top-heavy, large amounts of decay, and for those reasons, we're looking to set its removal.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, any further discussion on that? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Miller?
Aye. The town attorney just advised me, we had someone here who tried to get in during the open forum on Zoom and wanted to address the board about a drainage matter in his neighborhood. So we'll take a quick detour back to the open forum. Thanks, Ken. Again, the floor is yours. If you don't mind, please
Yes,
state your
sorry.
name and address.
My name is
Our
Kevin.
apologies to us that
No,
you
my
weren't
name
able
is
to get
Kevin
through.
Linder. Bill, you and I met. We talked extensively over on Ashley Drive about drainage on that street, specifically about a few properties in the area. And the town came in and paved over things, so it's kind of even worse now. And I had mentioned to you about the vac truck, about getting used specifically, which has not come through at all still. It's just pavement over curbs. So I'm kind of curious as to why we're doing curbs over curbs with blacktop when we got to replace the curbs. So
Curbs
water
or gutters?
in the gutters, so they actually flow to the drains. And we have a vac truck in this town
Well,
that I didn't realize there was one thing about here about selling other properties of the highway department and sewer department. So I don't know what that all entails, but I've been to those auctions almost every year, so I see those things. So I'm just kind of curious as to why, after talking extensively with you, with multiple neighbors at the same time, they just came over and paved. So water's backing up even more. And we're going into winter season, and what's water do in winter? It freezes, ices over. Our street gets to be an ice zone. It's a hockey rink because water does not flow properly through the sewers, through all sorts of different areas, because drainage and levels are not properly done. I'm very curious as to why we had this extensive conversation with multiple neighbors, and it was just, we'll throw blacktop and build it up and make the water back up even more.
I can't answer that specific question, but I do know that our highway work is done over a period of time, and has happened on one of the other streets in your neighborhood.
I know some of your
gutter
highway-
was done at the same time.
I
as
know
the
some of
pavement.
your highway workers. I know them. I've sold equipment to them in the past, in my previous job. I know some of your highway workers. I'm curious as to why some of this money is going to other things and not fixing the actual problems that are actual problems. I'm not going to state what those problems are because I'm not an engineer. I'm just a guy that's done construction and a mechanic and all that stuff for most of my life. So I'm not going to state those problems, but I've heard it from your own town department people as to there's a lot of issues to fix, and I'm curious as to why these problems are not getting fixed when you yourself were campaigning to me personally and my neighbors that we're going to get this fixed. And the fix is we're going to pave over it on one driveway so water builds up still and then creates even more of an issue.
Everett, can you,
Yeah, I can speak a little bit to this. So at 85 Ashley, we did patch up the gutter system, which is a small portion of it, which is very dilapidated and broken down. And historically, that's been a way that we try to.
That wasn't a patch up. That was a straight up, I don't even know what you would call it. When I came home and saw that, and the next rain I saw, the amount of water that backs up, no, that's not a patch up. That's just pardon my French, but a boring, just F-you fix. That's
Yeah,
all that was.
Ideally, we would replace the gutter system in there, but we don't have funding to replace the entire gutter system. And so
You have
we were-
funding to replace a lot of these other things in this area that we're going from 4 lanes to 2 lanes. Traffic's been an issue.
That's a county project, so that was not
Everything
town
else,
funding.
I understand that, but there's a lot of things that could go on in this area that I've seen you guys fix. But if you're in charge of this stuff, like drainage and road safety, especially in the winter, in that neighborhood, is a major problem. Just like speeding in that neighborhood is a major problem on that street specifically because it's a straightaway. So you get people speeding and then all of a sudden there's kids, everything else. I fear for my kids on that street sometimes because of how much speeders there are and how fast they go because it's such a long straightaway. But my big thing was I talked with Bill specifically, okay? He's gonna get it fixed. Well, you got a patch. Now water's backing up on both sides of 80 and 85. Water's backing up. Sewers are backing up. There's a vac truck. Empty the sewers with the vac truck. I've used a vac truck. I know how they work. You could use the vac truck to do this stuff above and below 80 and 85. But it's not done. I've never seen the vac truck in our neighborhood.
Well, I can tell you that we can certainly take a look at that.
And I thank you for that. I appreciate that offer, Everett. Maybe the two of you can find a time, and maybe it would make sense to do it on a day that it's raining, so you can see what the impact of the rain is. I will tell you, we have hundreds of lane miles of roads in the town. We have a lot of miles of gutters, and yes, there are some problems.
I understand that. I understand that the town guys work hard.
Yes, they
Like
do.
I said, I know a bunch of them. They work hard. Not faulting them, not anything like that. I just, at a certain point, if you guys are sinking money into various projects, one of the projects needs to be some of the neighborhoods, as you and I had discussed personally when you were campaigning. You and I and a couple of neighbors had discussed personally about the drainage in that area. And that's all it is. I know it can't all happen overnight. I understand that. But just coming over and blacktopping the end of a driveway to block more water again on the other side of the street is not the answer.
And
I'm kind of curious as to why that happened, and I just wanted to say that, like, this is stuff that matters to people.
it does, and I do
You know,
understand
the
that,
chief-
and that's why.
Chief of the fire department lives 2 doors down from me. I talk to him almost every day.
And that's why
And
Mr. Garcia will make an appointment with you to come out and look at it on a rainy day, so we can see exactly what's happening. And maybe there will be an opportunity to devise some work. I will say we do consistently have a significant line item in the budget for gutter work. But this may be a situation where we want to, we're just going to have to take a look at it. Normally, as you saw on the other street in your neighborhood just recently, the gutter work is done in conjunction with the paving. It's a lot more efficient. And it's more efficient to be able to do that entire stretch
Yes,
patching
they
some?
got guttered, and they got gutters and paving, and we got chip coat.
Okay. I appreciate you coming in, and Everett, I'll ask, that you share contact information and set up a time to talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, board members.
Okay, we'll continue, and our next item is the setting a public hearing for the proposed incentive zoning and rezoning application for Topgolf. Jason, can I have a
Yes, with
motion,
respect to
please?
setting a public hearing for the proposed incentive zoning/rezoning application for Topgolf at East Henrietta Road, I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second, and I will note that public hearing is November 8th at 7 p.m.
Thanks, Robin. Ken,
Yeah.
the floor is yours.
Thanks. I have a few things on this. So I think the board is aware that the planning board has already reviewed this project relative to the amenities being offered, the incentives that are being requested, as well as how this project fits on the site and is related to the surrounding development. You have before you the planning board's report dated October 18th, 2023, which is for your review. And staff's recommendation is that you would proceed with setting a public hearing to continue the incentive zoning process under Chapter 209. Also part of this project is a rezoning of this land from RLB to BF2. That is being done through a local law, essentially amending the zoning map of the town of Brighton for the two parcels that comprise this particular project. And there is attached to this resolution a proposed local law for your perusal between now and that public hearing. And the notice that is required for both incentive zoning and the adoption of a local law is a publication in our official newspaper, the Daily Record, at least 5 days before the public hearing. I know that Town Clerk Amon is prepared to get that notice out so that we comply with that time parameter. There's also a policy that was put in place many years ago about what other notices should be sent out by the applicant relative to an incentive zoning proposal. Some of those involve sending a notice to what this board might identify as residents of multifamily dwellings as those residents who are affected by the project. The fact of the matter is given where this project is located, there are no multifamily dwellings or residents living in multifamily dwellings in the town of Brighton. Hear me on that. In the town of Brighton in close proximity. There is, however, directly across Westfall, a multifamily dwelling in the city of Rochester. And one thing that I was hoping that the board could shed some light on, and I know that the applicant's representative, Betsy Brugg, is here with us this evening, is to provide some guidance to staff. Ultimately, this is a staff-administered and affected policy. But to give some guidance to staff as to whether this board would like to see the residents of the multifamily dwelling across Westfall in the city of Rochester also receive notice as affected residents under our policy. If so, then we would direct the applicant to do so. So that's one thing I'd like to have you all discuss. Thoughts?
I know from my perspective, if the roles were reversed, if there was a city project just over the line and it was very close to town residential properties, I would certainly hope that the city would make those property owners aware, or that the developer would make those property owners aware. We have a policy. In most cases, it applies to Brighton homeowners, but it seems to me that under these circumstances, even though this parcel doesn't front on Westfall Road, it's in the town of Brighton, but they are within the distance radius that we normally use. I'd certainly like to see them made aware of this.
And to clarify, these are multifamily rental properties. Is it the property owners or the residents who are to be notified?
The residents. So what happens actually under the policy is that the applicant will contact the Board of Elections typically to find out who are registered voters at those addresses, and use that list and any other source that we can provide or suggest to identify as many resident occupants as possible in that set of addresses.
Seems the appropriate thing to do. Give their input, and they could give us a perspective perhaps we're missing.
It's not part of the resolution, but Everett and I will certainly pass that along to Rick DiStefano. Our senior planner is really the point person for this project, so we'll make sure Rick knows that, and working with the applicant's representatives. A couple of other points of note, and again, this is under the policy, and this is really just a FYI more than anything else. The policy requires a notice to be posted on the property, a sign to be put on the property 2 weeks in advance. 2 weeks in advance of your hearing would be today. Since there was nothing passed upon until now, obviously that was impossible for them to post. So staff's recommendation will be to the applicant, and this is not, again, something you need to decide on, that the sign be posted as soon as practicable after today, whether that be tomorrow or Friday, as the case may be, would be fine. If you think about this property and the elevation of this property, that sign is not really going to be visible from any public road anyway, if it's on the parcel, but yet they're going to post it in any event. And the other portions of this are setting the public hearing, sending out the notice of that public hearing, and also directing the senior planner to get development referral forms over to Monroe County Department of Planning and Development, which is required. They are required to be notified so they can review the application and provide other interested party information to the applicant to the extent that there are any, and that will be taken care of as well. Happy to review the details of the project if you need that again, but I think you all are very familiar with what the Topgolf project is. I don't know, Everett, if you wanted to add anything to any of that.
No, I think you took care of the items we wanted to discuss tonight.
Okay.
Good.
A couple of questions.
Yeah, go ahead,
And I concur with
Jason.
And I concur with, in the interest of transparency, notifying the residents of the multifamily dwellings over across the line from the city. If it's our policy to notify residents of the town of Brighton, that arbitrary municipal boundary seems like it would be, it doesn't really promote transparency. But also, do we have enough time? What's our policy as far as sending the notification out? How far in advance of the hearing? Does having a hearing 2 weeks from tonight give the developer enough time to find out those addresses and then get the letters out?
Yeah, they'll be pressed to do it, but they can do it. We've had those discussions.
Council is nodding her head as well, so.
I know that the applicant is anxious to get that public hearing set and conducted. you didn't ask this question, but I'm going to sort of give you an answer because I know Betsy's right there listening. It may not be that staff is ready to put before you a full set of incentive zoning provisions and conditions at your November 8th meeting. So you may hold the public hearing, but I'm not certain that we're going to be in a position to take action that night. It's more likely that you're going to be taking action at the meeting on Tuesday, November 21st, also known as my last town board meeting.
But who's counting?
But who's counting? So I think that's probably how that's going to play out. What other question did you have, Jason? I'm sorry.
Just about the timing. Our policy is, what's the number of days or time before the actual public hearing do the residents need to get a letter? Is that spelled out, or is it just as soon as
I don't have the
practical?
policy. Do you have the policy handy, Everett? Because it's not part of the code.
Oh, right.
It's part of a policy, and
don't
those
think it
policy
is.
provisions can be varied by staff to accommodate a project. So I don't think they're. Look at how quick he gets stuff. So the policy doesn't state a time within which the mailing needs to be done, but it does state a time within which the affidavit certifying that the policy is complied with is filed with the town clerk, and that states that it's supposed to be 2 weeks before the hearing. So that's not happening. Again, as a practical matter, staff will work with the developer and make sure that that is filed before the public hearing, and we'll work with the developer to make sure those notices are sent out as soon as possible. The real requisite notice, though, is publication in the official newspaper of the town of Brighton, and of course posting on our website, which the town clerk will make sure happens.
I'll ask the question that's being begged to be asked. Why hold this on the 8th and not on the 21st to give enough time for all of these things to fall into place?
There's a entire timeline that has been built around this project, predicated on trying to get the final approval for incentive zoning done before the end of November, relative to the development cycle and schedule and the other approvals. Understand that even after you adopt an incentive zoning resolution, it needs to go back to the planning board for site plan review. There's quite a bit that still needs to happen before that. I will say another thing that needs to happen before this board can act, and we're not really at the end of this process either, is your full seeker review. We are still awaiting information from the developer vis-a-vis the materials that are subsurface on this site. It's a site of about 18 acres, most of which, I think it's fair to say about 90% of which, will be disturbed by this project. And, you know, we need to be certain that staff can provide to you information about what that subsurface material is, and we're still awaiting good documentation on that as well, so we can make a proper determination on seeker. Hopefully there's nothing there that would be of concern and things can move smoothly along, but that's not known at this time.
Ken, do you anticipate, if we hold the public hearing at the next meeting on the 8th, do you anticipate holding the public hearing open on the 21st?
I don't think so. I don't think we would need that. The idea with having time to draft the incentive zoning resolution is so we can address matters that are raised at the public hearing. I mean, it's a public hearing. It's for input to the board. And so, you know, it's somewhat difficult with things complicated like incentive zoning proposals to have for your action the very night of the public hearing a full set of, if you will, incentive zoning regulations and conditions that everybody feels comfortable encapsulates not just the public's comments, but the board's reaction and staff's thoughts about those public comments. And we have that public input for a reason, and we want to give it all the consideration that it is due. So the expectation is hold the public hearing on the 8th, process whatever input is received, come up with a set of regs and conditions, and then put that in front of the board for action on the 21st. And that way the project keeps on schedule. I hope that answers your question as well, Jason.
It does. So, when does the developer anticipate getting the notices out then?
We'll work with them on that. Staff will work with them on that to make sure that they're done as expeditiously as possible. I would hope that they could go out as early next week, so that they're in people's mailboxes, well in advance of November 8th. It would be not useful to have them send those notices so they're received on or after November 8th. I think everybody recognizes
7th for that matter.
Yeah, everybody recognizes that.
All right. Well, I've seen this applicant so far be very much engaged, be very much responsive, and we've obviously worked with council before. So recognizing that it's a tight timeline, but that gives me a greater level of confidence that in fact all the parties will work together.
And let me just throw this out to you, Jason, and really the rest of the board as well, is come the 8th of November, if we either don't have any certification that the letters have been mailed, or we receive certification that the letters were mailed at a time that was not conducive to actually receiving effective notice to allow those residents to come in and comment, then it will be up to the board as to whether the board wants to keep the public hearing open and delay action further.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. Thanks. Great discussion. Good questions. Any other comments? Any other questions? So then on the motion to set the public hearing and take various other ancillary actions, if there's nothing further, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFoncio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Robin, the next matter.
Certainly. The next matter seeks to set a public hearing for November 21st, 2023 at 7 p.m. for the proposed climate action plan update. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
I think I heard Jason. Any discussion? I will just say I'm very excited that we've got this draft before us. In particular, there are some numbers in there that just jump out at you. The progress we've already made in town operations, reducing greenhouse gas emissions by over 30% since the initial data points in 2014. The fact that the town, our operations are a very small part of the overall town. But the fact that the town as a whole, the residents, the businesses, the town as a community have reduced emissions by over 10% since that time. We got farther to go. We got more to go if we're going to meet the CLCPA guidelines that the state has directed. But boy, I'll tell you, we're ahead of the game. And I'm really pleased to see that. I'm, again, just so thrilled by the work that everybody's done on this climate action plan. And, I'm We're looking forward to more progress, more results, more funding
Yes.
to make it possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, and with regard to those graphs, I think the SOC, when they reviewed them last night, said, you know, they could be a little clearer because it almost looks like the opposite is true.
I don't disagree. I thought a couple of those graphs, they didn't really show.
Right.
They showed how some of the different,
Yeah.
different proportions, but they
Right.
added up to 100%. They didn't really show that the numbers
Exactly.
were small.
So maybe if we have a larger circle for 2014 and a smaller circle representing the 30% reduction for 2020, that might be a better depiction or
That's a great
clearer
suggestion.
depiction. So, yes, just so there might be some minor tweaks, but overall, the SOC is very pleased with the work product. And, I know there was a lot of back and forth, but I think we ended up with a very nice draft product from the vendor. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'll add that we'll be receiving a formal presentation by our consultant, Barton Judas, during the public hearing next month. And, I think it's a culmination of hard work for a lot of people, volunteers, staff members, and SOC members. And so we're all excited about it.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Christine?
Yes, the next matter seeks to amend the 2023 budget of the Department of Public Works by transferring $1,750 from the memberships and training account to the part-time wages account. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
This will fund the hiring of a part-time permanent cleaner down the street.
Yeah, he's
Here.
going to float around to
They'll float.
wherever he needs it. Yep.
Good. And who seconded that? Chris?
Chris.
Any other discussion? Anything else, Everett, you want to add on that?
No, I'll just add that it's part of the restructuring of the facilities department, and it's a position that's greatly needed, especially with Gary taking on more duties at other town facilities. So I think we
a lot on
appreciate
his
it.
plate.
Yeah.
Good, and this is a matter that we did have some internal discussion about, and
Yep.
we'll see how this much additional time
Yeah.
works. Yeah. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Anything further? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Jason?
Yes, the next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Game Time Incorporated for playground equipment in an amount not to exceed $52,570. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
And again, this is a matter we had come up earlier in discussion, the replacement of the playground at the town park. As part of this proposal, there is a discount that they offer for ordering on a certain time frame, and B, they are again working with us, as they did at Meridian Center, to train our people and then have most of that installation done by us with some additional liability protection in that structure. So it's going to save us a lot of money and get us a new playground that we need very much. So we have a motion and a second. Any further?
I have a question, and I'm reading over the materials I was sent, and I don't see this mentioned in the materials, so I may just not be aware of it. Does anyone know, and Earl, actually, I'm asking you this question. I'm sorry to be asking you this sort of out of the blue. Do we know if Game Time, the company with which we're going to enter into a contract, is on either county or New York State contract already to provide playground equipment?
I think they are.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that.
We've used them on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
I think they are.
For projects of this size?
No, for sure.
Can I speak my concern?
Yes, you don't have to.
Well,
I
for
know
the
exactly.
benefit of the rest of the board. So this project is capital improvement, over $35,000, and is subject to bidding requirements under New York State law, unless Game Time is an authorized New York State contractor or county contractor that we're piggybacking on. And that would be fine. I just don't see that information in what was presented to me. And I apologize to the board. I meant to call Matt Beeman and ask him that question, and I forgot to do that today. So perhaps we could pass this resolution subject to the review of that matter by the town attorney? If that would be an okay amendment for those who have made this motion and seconded it?
Sure.
I'd accept that amendment as the moving person.
Second? Yeah.
All right, so it'll be the action subject to
Compliance with,
compliance with state bidding requirements as determined by the town attorney.
Yep.
Okay? Dan, do you need something from me on that specifically?
No, I was just Googling to see if I could get an answer, but
I
they
need
have a
to.
past, they have a past contract. They were.
Hold on. Again, the commissioner to my rescue. He has asked Matt Beeman, who is the park superintendent, is Game Time on state contract, and the answer is yes. So
I thought so.
we don't need to change.
Excellent.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Thanks,
Never
Everett.
mind, 'cause All right. To that end, we have a motion and a second in its original form.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Thank you, Matt. You know, I'll just say, we have phenomenal staff here at the town of Brighton. It's 10 after 9.
No,
10 to 9
2-9.
on a Wednesday night.
Matt's home with his family, I'm sure, and his kids,
Yep.
you know. And
Yep. And he gave us an answer like that. So,
Thank you.
well done. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Matters of the supervisor. Earl.
Yes, at the very end of your packet tonight, on page 213, is the supervisor's report through the 9-month period ending September 30th. So I'll just run through the conclusions quickly. The first 3 slides that have been provided are from last year's adopted budget, just a little information on where town budget dollars come from and what the budget looked like heading into 2023 for frame of reference. On page 217, we did some comparisons through 9 months, and 2022 we knew was a successful year. So we looked at where we were in some different categories in 2022 compared to the budget year to date as of last year, and then did the same for 2023 to get a gauge of where we are. As we've talked about before, I mentioned in the summary that inflation continues to be a challenge in '23, and I would also say the rising rate environment that has come about trying to fight inflation. I should add that that is been a significant impact for us as well, especially when it comes to the mortgage tax receipts and some of those types of issues. Even though our revenues are up about $300,000 over budget so far, as a percentage, they trail last year by about 5%. In other words, last year we were further ahead than we are this year on the revenue side, and that is because sales tax compared to budget is a little bit lower this year, and mortgage tax as well. On the other side, we are earning more income, earning more interest income, and we work hard to try to maximize that, to try to offset some of the impacts of the tax revenue being a little bit lower. We expect the sales tax revenue to look better over the next 6 months, but the mortgage tax revenue will obviously be probably challenged for the remainder of this year. On the expenditure side, you can see that overall, compared to budget, we are at 68% of expenses, and that compared to last year at this time was at 69%. So we're doing a good job controlling our expenses so far year to date, and we need to continue to work hard to do that so that our year-end results will avoid using significant fund balance as they did last year. So that's kind of a quick snapshot of where we are through 9 months compared to budget and compared to 2022. Not expecting any surprises, and if we do have to use any fund balance for 2023, it should be minimal and certainly not what we had to budget in '23.
Thanks, Earl. That's, I think continued facing those challenges, particularly inflation and interest rates, which mixed blessing, as you note. Higher interest rates increased our interest income, but are a huge part of the reason that mortgage tax revenues are way down. There was the sales tax adjustment that was a one-time, at least for this year. So I think all in all, they are encouraging as to where we expect we'll wind up the full year. Any questions for the finance director?
No, but I do appreciate these charts, Earl. Very useful.
Can I have a motion to receive and file this report?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mallon?
Aye. Well, it's October. It's matters of the supervisor, so you know I'm going to talk about leaves. But it's no laughing matter. We know the leaves. We know the highway department does a great job. We also know that putting leaves, bulk leaves, in the street is problematic for all sorts of reasons. It becomes a hazard for cyclists, drivers, perhaps pedestrians who are walking in the street. It can cause storm drainage issues if those leaves clog the storm drains. We've probably all seen kids playing in leaves. It scares the whatever to think of kids playing in leaf piles in the streets. For all of those reasons, please, 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 don't pile your leaves in the street. I walk a lot, I see them. Please bring them in from the street. They belong on the grass. Our crews will get around. They will pick them up. This time of year, your lawn is going to be going dormant anyway. Those leaves on your lawn aren't going to do any permanent damage. If you have bulk leaves, please put them on your lawn, not in the street. We really want to encourage people to containerize. The more we containerize leaves, and for that matter, other debris, the quicker they will get picked up, because at this time of year, our containerized truck is able to get around town faster. It also reduces the likelihood of leaves being wind-blown, whether it's back onto your lawn or back into those same gutters and storm drains where they might clog again. So if you have small quantities, we've talked about it before, I've seen it before. Sometimes you go by a house and there's, you know, this little tiny pile and you can't tell whether the wind just blew it there. And then someone calls and says, you didn't pick up my leaves. And often it's because our crew, it just looked like ambient leaves sitting there. So if you've got a small quantity, please containerize them. We won't be able to stop. It doesn't make sense to stop. One of the ways we've been able to speed up our bulk pickup is that we don't have to have that whole big entourage of trucks stop to pick up every little pile. If you containerize those small piles, they'll get picked up in the packer truck, and both sets of crews will be able to get around quicker. If you're not sure when we're going to come by and pick up leaves, check out the map on the town, actually maps on the town's webpage, because we have separate maps showing where the packer truck for for containerized pickup and where the bulk is over the next 2 days. People sometimes ask, why can't you do it every week? Why can't you tell me when I live on, Fairhaven and East Brighton and your truck's over in West Brighton? Why can't you tell me now when you're going to come to my street? Weather conditions, the volume of leaves, all can affect how quickly our crews can get around. So we can only give you a couple of days advance timing. But again, the extent to which you can containerize your leaves, and definitely the extent to which you can keep them out of the street, will help us do, our great highway crew, do their job safely. One reminder, if you're still mowing your lawn, of course, we don't pick up grass clippings. They should be mowed and left on your lawn. And by the way, that's a great place to put your leaves. Mow your leaves, leave them on the ground, and then you won't have to containerize them or rake them out to the front. So I'm going to keep saying it. It's what I do this time of year. But really, please, Christine, I saw your great post. I did see some of the comments back. It's really important. It's really important. Don't put the leaves in the street. Mulch them, mow them. That's the best solution. All right, I'll get off my soapbox.
Is that more of the leaf pile that you were on?
Yes, that was a leaf. That was a soapbox in the leaves. Yes, it was. Matters of the town clerk.
Just a reminder for anybody that's still trying to get the school tax resolved. We stopped collecting in the office on Tuesday, 31st, at which point the county assumes collection and the penalty goes up. So for anybody that's still working on pulling that together, if you have any questions, please call the office. Happy to chat. But you really want to target that 10/31 date to resolve any outstanding balances.
Thanks, Dan. Matters of the board.
Supervisor, I know I'm not a board member.
Oh, I skipped you, didn't I?
And I've used up my quota of words this evening. However,
and we haven't gotten to your last meeting yet, so you still have the microphone.
Right. Can't take the microphone away from me yet. I do have actually 3 matters of litigation I'd like to cover in executive session with the board involving CVA, CCA, and Whole Foods litigation matters.
We'll do that. Thank you. Matters of the board. Then can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss those 3 matters of litigation? CVA, CCA, and Whole Foods.
So moved.
Second.
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt? Oh, sorry, Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Thank you to everybody that came out tonight. Again, thank you especially to our interpreters. I don't anticipate that we will be coming back into public session after the executive session. So the next meeting of the town board will be November 8th. And before November 8th is November 7th, Election Day. And I do want to remind everybody to vote. But you don't have to wait until November 7th. You can start voting on October 28th at any of the early voting sites around town. There's one here in Brighton at Empire State University at 680 Westfall Road. But if you happen to work in Greece or in Parrington and it's more convenient, or in the city, or there are sites all over the county. So you can vote anywhere, but please come vote. We'll see you on November 8th, and we'll be going into executive session. Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.